Scarlett Johansson's story is not just about fame, beauty, or blockbuster numbers. It is about persistence, reinvention, and a quiet but relentless determination that turned a young girl from New York City into one of the most powerful and highest-earning actresses in the world. And what makes her journey extraordinary is not simply the red carpets or the applause, but the years of rejection, criticism, pressure, and reinvention that shaped her into the global icon we know today. Because long before she became synonymous with strength as Natasha Romanoff in Black Widow or mesmerized audiences in Lost in Translation, she was just a determined child growing up in Manhattan. Born on November 22, 1984, raised in a modest household where dreams felt big but resources felt small, and from an early age she carried something rare, a certainty that she belonged on stage. A confidence that did not come from arrogance but from an inner fire that refused to dim even when the world doubted her. And like many aspiring performers, she faced auditions that ended in silence, doors that closed without explanation, and comparisons that could have crushed her spirit, yet she continued, studying at the Lee Strasberg Theatre Institute, sharpening her craft while other children were simply playing, already understanding that talent without discipline fades, and discipline without resilience breaks, so she built both, step by step, and when she began landing small film roles. In the mid-1990s, including performances that showed emotional depth far beyond her years, critics noticed that this was not just another child actor passing through Hollywood. This was someone who understood vulnerability, subtlety, and emotional truth. And that understanding eventually led her to roles that challenged her identity. Because instead of choosing predictable fame, she chose complexity. And in films like Girl with a Pearl Earring, she demonstrated a quiet intensity that captivated audiences worldwide, proving that her presence alone could carry a story without loud theatrics. And yet success did not shield her from typecasting or the pressure of public perception, as media headlines often reduced her to appearances rather than acknowledging the range she continuously fought to display. But rather than react with bitterness, she evolved, shifting genres, exploring indie cinema, embracing action, comedy, drama, and voice acting. And when she entered the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Natasha Romanoff in Iron Man 2, many doubted whether she could redefine the image of a female action hero in a male-dominated franchise. Yet she transformed Black Widow into a layered character, powerful yet wounded, fierce yet emotionally complex, and through films like The Avengers, she became a central pillar of one of the most successful franchises in cinematic history, not merely as eye candy but as a symbol of intelligence, sacrifice, and strength. And what makes her rise inspiring is that she never allowed herself to be boxed into one narrative, because while dominating box offices, she also took risks in intimate projects such as Marriage Story, delivering a performance so raw and authentic that it reminded the world she was more than a superhero. She was an artist capable of exposing heartbreak with breathtaking honesty, earning critical acclaim and award nominations that solidified her status as both a commercial powerhouse and a serious performer. And beyond the screen, she quietly reshaped her own destiny by becoming a producer, taking ownership of her projects, demanding fair pay, challenging industry norms, and proving that influence is not given but claimed. And through controversies, legal battles, and public scrutiny, she remained composed, demonstrating that resilience is not about never falling but about refusing to stay down. And perhaps the most powerful lesson from Scarlett Johansson's journey is that reinvention is strength, that you do not have to remain who the world first labels you as, that you can grow, pivot, expand, and rewrite your narrative as many times as necessary until it aligns with your truth. And in an industry that constantly changes its standards, she became timeless, not because she chased trends, but because she cultivated depth, confidence, and authenticity, showing aspiring dreamers everywhere that success is not an overnight miracle, but a long, often lonely road paved with preparation, courage, and unwavering belief in your own potential. And this is only the beginning of understanding how Scarlett Johansson transformed obstacles into opportunities and silence into global recognition. As Scarlett Johansson matured in Hollywood, The weight of global stardom could have easily hardened her or pushed her into complacency, but instead it refined her perspective, teaching her that fame is fleeting while craft is permanent. And this awareness shaped the decisions that followed. Because while millions recognized her as Black Widow, she consciously stepped into roles that stripped away glamour and forced audiences to confront emotional truths, including her haunting voice performance in Her, where she played an artificial intelligence without ever appearing on screen, yet delivered one of the most intimate and human portrayals of connection in modern cinema, proving that presence is not about visibility but impact, and that risk further cemented her reputation as an actress unafraid of vulnerability. And vulnerability became one of her greatest strengths, whether portraying alienation, heartbreak, ambition, or resilience. She approached each character with layered nuance, refusing to offer surface-level performances, and as Hollywood's financial records began to reflect her global drawing power. With multiple years ranking among the highest-paid actors worldwide, she simultaneously advocated for equity, fair compensation, and creative control, challenging long-standing power structures that had limited female actors for decades. And her legal dispute with the Walt Disney Company over streaming compensation signaled something larger than a contract disagreement. It symbolized a shift where established artists asserted their value in an evolving digital industry, and rather than retreat under pressure, she stood firm, demonstrating to younger performers that self-worth must never be negotiated away. And beyond business strategy, her journey reflects something deeply human: the courage to evolve publicly while privately navigating motherhood, relationships, and identity under the scrutiny of millions. And unlike the flawless images projected onto billboards, her real story includes self-doubt, reinvention, and moments of stepping back to recalibrate, reminding us that growth requires pause as much as momentum. And as she expanded into producing through her company, she began shaping narratives instead of only performing within them, ensuring that future stories would hold space for complexity, intelligence, and strong female leads who are multidimensional rather than ornamental. And her trajectory from a young girl in New York dreaming of the spotlight to a global figure influencing billion-dollar franchises illustrates that ambition combined with discipline becomes unstoppable. Because she never relied solely on natural charisma, she refined her craft repeatedly, challenged herself with directors known for demanding authenticity, and maintained a balance between mainstream appeal and artistic exploration, which is why her filmography feels both commercially dominant and critically respected. And perhaps the deepest inspiration in Scarlett Johansson's life is the understanding that power is quiet before it is loud, that before the applause comes years of unnoticed work, and before the recognition comes relentless preparation. And through decades in an unforgiving industry, she has remained relevant not by accident but by intention, not by luck but by resilience, transforming every phase of her career into a new chapter rather than a repetition of the last. And in doing so, she has become more than a Hollywood star. She has become a symbol of evolution, strength, and fearless self-reinvention, reminding every dreamer watching that your beginning does not define your ending, that criticism does not cancel your potential, and that if you continue to grow beyond the expectations placed upon you, you too can shape a legacy that outlives trends and transforms the industry you once struggled to enter.